Welcome to Audiobooks Vault. In this video, we will summarize the book How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Let's start. Imagine you're in a room full of people and you have the power to win them over, earn their trust, and inspire them to take action, all without manipulation, force, or insincerity. What if there was a way to effortlessly connect with others, build lasting relationships, and become a person that others admire and are eager to follow? In How to Win Friends and Influence People, Dale Carnegie unveils the timeless principles behind one of the most crucial skills in life, human connection. Originally published in 1936, Carnegie's groundbreaking book has stood the test of time, offering wisdom that transcends generations. At its core, the book answers a question we all grapple with: how can we be more persuasive and better at building relationships? With practical advice drawn from psychology, real-world examples, and human nature, Carnegie's strategies are simple yet powerful, and they reveal that the key to success in life, both personally and professionally, lies not in what we know, but in how we interact with others. Whether you're looking to excel in your career, make new friends, or improve your personal relationships, this book provides insights that can help you create a magnetic presence, win people over, and lead with influence. Carnegie's principles are not about using cunning or manipulation. Instead, they encourage sincerity, empathy, and understanding, providing a roadmap for those who wish to truly connect with people on a deeper level. But what makes this book truly compelling is how it takes something as seemingly elusive as charm or charisma and breaks it down into actionable steps. From learning the art of listening to mastering the subtleties of communication, Carnegie shows how small changes in our approach to others can create profound results. His methods are grounded in the belief that by making people feel valued and respected, we can unlock their best selves and motivate them to do what we want, not out of obligation, but because they genuinely want to. The beauty of How to Win Friends and Influence People lies in its accessibility. It's not about becoming someone you're not, rather, it's about tapping into the inherent human desire to feel appreciated, understood, and important. Carnegie's timeless lessons offer a transformative approach to life, showing that we all have the potential to be exceptional at connecting with others, whether we're leaders, co-workers, friends, or family. So, if you're ready to discover how to win people over, influence decisions, and make your interactions more meaningful, How to Win Friends and Influence People is your essential guide to mastering the art of human connection. Chapter 1. If you want to gather honey, don't kick over the beehive. The first chapter introduces a core idea: criticism is counterproductive. Carnegie emphasizes that criticizing, condemning, or complaining about others often leads to defensiveness rather than change. People naturally justify their actions, and harsh criticism usually alienates them. He supports this argument with examples, including historical figures like Abraham Lincoln, who learned the futility of criticizing others through personal experience. Carnegie advises focusing on understanding others' perspectives rather than blaming them. By showing empathy and avoiding fault-finding, we create a more constructive environment for growth and cooperation. Key takeaway: avoid criticism, and instead, seek to understand and encourage others. People respond better to positive reinforcement than to negativity. Chapter 2. The Big Secret of Dealing with People. This chapter reveals a fundamental human desire, the need to feel important and appreciated. Carnegie asserts that sincere appreciation is a powerful tool for motivating and influencing people. Unlike flattery, which is insincere and often self-serving, genuine appreciation resonates deeply because it acknowledges people's efforts and contributions. Carnegie shares stories of leaders who transformed their relationships by expressing genuine gratitude. For instance, industrialist Charles Schwab was known for his ability to inspire loyalty by consistently praising his workers' strengths. Schwab believed that pointing out people's good qualities was more effective than dwelling on their shortcomings. The key principle: make others feel valued by expressing authentic appreciation. Doing so fosters goodwill and strengthens relationships. Chapter 3. He who can do this has the whole world with him. He who cannot walks a lonely way. The final chapter of Part 1 focuses on the importance of arousing an eager want in others. Carnegie explains that the most successful people understand that influencing others requires aligning their interests with your own. Instead of coercion or demands, effective leaders and communicators inspire others by showing how their desires can be fulfilled. To illustrate, Carnegie recounts how a father convinced his son to give up thumbsucking, not by nagging, but by making the idea appealing to the child. The father framed it as a way to grow strong and independent, aligning the boy's desire with the goal. Similarly, in business and personal relationships, understanding and appealing to what others want is far more effective than focusing solely on your own objectives. The guiding principle: focus on others' needs and desires to inspire cooperation. Present your ideas in a way that resonates with their goals and interests. Chapter 4. Do this and you'll be welcome anywhere. The first chapter of Part 2 introduces a simple yet profound idea: to make people like you, take a genuine interest in them. Carnegie explains that humans are naturally drawn to those who show sincere concern for their lives, interests, and well-being. This principle involves going beyond superficial interactions and actively engaging with others on a meaningful level. Carnegie supports his argument with anecdotes about individuals who built lasting relationships by prioritizing others. For example, he mentions influential leaders who remembered people's names, hobbies, and stories, making them feel valued and appreciated. He emphasizes that this kind of attentiveness cannot be faked; it must stem from an authentic desire to connect. Key takeaway: cultivate a genuine interest in others. When people feel truly understood and appreciated, they are more likely to respond positively to you. Chapter 5. A simple way to make a good first impression. In this chapter, Carnegie highlights the power of a smile in creating a positive and lasting impression. A smile, he explains, is a universal signal of warmth, friendliness, and openness. It transcends cultural and linguistic barriers, immediately putting people at ease and inviting them to engage with you. Carnegie shares examples of professionals, such as salespeople and customer service representatives, who use smiles as tools to win over clients and diffuse tension. He also cites research suggesting that smiles are contagious; they encourage others to reciprocate, creating an atmosphere of mutual goodwill. However, Carnegie stresses the importance of authenticity. A forced or insincere smile can have the opposite effect, undermining trust. Instead, he encourages readers to cultivate a positive mindset so that their smiles naturally reflect genuine warmth. Key takeaway: smile genuinely and often. A warm smile can break down barriers, create a positive first impression, and set the tone for a friendly interaction. Chapter 6. If you don't do this, you are headed for trouble. This chapter introduces another critical principle: remember and use people's names. Carnegie argues that a person's name is, to them, the sweetest sound in any language. By addressing someone by name, you acknowledge their individuality and make them feel important. Carnegie recounts anecdotes of successful leaders and public figures who made a point of remembering names, often with extraordinary results. For instance, Andrew Carnegie, no relation to the author, was known for his ability to recall the names of even casual acquaintances, which helped him build loyalty and trust in business. To put this principle into practice, Carnegie suggests making a conscious effort to learn and use names during conversations. He emphasizes the importance of repetition, association, and genuine interest as techniques for remembering names more effectively. Key takeaway: remember and use people's names in conversation. It demonstrates respect, personalizes interactions, and strengthens connections. Chapter 7. An easy way to become a good conversationalist. Carnegie introduces a straightforward but often overlooked principle for becoming an excellent conversationalist: be a good listener. Most people enjoy talking about themselves, their experiences, and their opinions. By allowing them the space to share, you create a positive and memorable interaction. He explains that being a good listener is not just about remaining silent, but about actively engaging with the speaker. This includes nodding, maintaining eye contact, and asking follow-up questions that show genuine interest. Carnegie recounts anecdotes where individuals built strong relationships simply by letting others talk and refraining from dominating the conversation. The key lesson? To win people over, focus on them rather than yourself. Listening actively makes others feel valued and appreciated, strengthening connections. Chapter 8. How to interest people. In this chapter, Carnegie emphasizes the importance of talking about what interests the other person. He explains that people are naturally drawn to conversations that align with their passions, hobbies, or concerns. To hold someone's attention, you must tailor your dialogue to their interests rather than your own. Carnegie shares examples of how successful professionals engage others by doing their homework. For instance, a businessman might learn about a client's hobbies, such as golfing or fishing, and then weave those topics into the conversation. This demonstrates a genuine effort to understand and connect on a personal level. Carnegie warns against faking interest. Authenticity is crucial. By aligning the conversation with topics that excite the other person, you create a sense of camaraderie and rapport. The key lesson? Discover what matters to others and center conversations around those subjects. This approach fosters engagement and leaves a lasting impression. Chapter 9. How to make people like you instantly. Carnegie's final chapter in Part 2 unveils a powerful yet simple strategy: make the other person feel important, and do it sincerely. He asserts that one of the deepest human desires is the need to feel valued. By recognizing and affirming someone's worth, you can instantly win their favor. Carnegie explains that making people feel important doesn't require grand gestures. Simple acts, like offering heartfelt compliments or acknowledging someone's achievements, can go a long way. However, sincerity is critical. Empty flattery or manipulation will quickly undermine trust. He supports this idea with anecdotes, such as how President Theodore Roosevelt memorized details about each of his visitors to make them feel special. By genuinely valuing others, he earned their loyalty and respect. The key lesson? Treat everyone you meet as though they are the most important person in the world. Sincere recognition of their worth is a shortcut to building likability and trust. Chapter 10. You can't win an argument. Carnegie opens this chapter with a counterintuitive yet powerful idea: you can't truly win an argument. Even if you prove someone wrong, you may damage their pride, alienate them, or strain the relationship. Arguments often leave both parties feeling dissatisfied, making them counterproductive in building rapport. He advises avoiding arguments whenever possible by seeking common ground and understanding the other person's perspective. Instead of outright disagreement, Carnegie suggests using tactful phrases like, "I may be wrong, let's examine the facts together." This approach shifts the dynamic from confrontation to collaboration. Carnegie supports his argument with examples, including a story about Benjamin Franklin, who credited much of his success to avoiding debates and instead using charm and diplomacy to influence others. Key lesson? Avoid arguments and focus on understanding others. By fostering a cooperative rather than adversarial atmosphere, you can achieve your goals more effectively. Chapter 11. A sure way of making enemies, and how to avoid it. This chapter emphasizes the importance of respecting others' opinions, even when you disagree. Carnegie warns against directly telling someone they are wrong, as it can provoke defensiveness and resentment. Instead, he advises approaching disagreements with humility and an open mind. Carnegie introduces the concept of softening your stance by acknowledging the possibility of error in your own position. For example, saying, "I might be wrong, but let's look at it together," opens the door to a constructive dialogue. This approach disarms the other person and encourages them to consider your perspective without feeling attacked. He illustrates this principle with anecdotes, such as how prominent leaders and negotiators diffuse tensions by avoiding confrontational language. Carnegie underscores the value of tact and diplomacy in preserving relationships while addressing disagreements. Key lesson? Never bluntly tell someone they are wrong. Instead, approach disagreements with tact and humility to foster mutual respect and understanding. Chapter 12. If you're wrong, admit it. In this chapter, Carnegie advocates for taking responsibility when you make a mistake. Admitting your errors candidly and quickly is not only disarming but also earns the respect of others. People are often surprised and impressed when someone acknowledges their fault rather than trying to deflect or justify it. Carnegie explains that admitting your mistakes before others point them out puts you in control of the situation and diffuses potential hostility. He cites examples of public figures and ordinary individuals who turned conflicts into opportunities for reconciliation by taking responsibility for their actions. He also notes that apologizing sincerely demonstrates maturity and integrity. Far from being a sign of weakness, it is a sign of strength that can strengthen relationships and rebuild trust. Key lesson: when you're wrong, admit it quickly and sincerely. Taking responsibility for your mistakes fosters trust, diffuses conflict, and earns respect. Chapter 13. A Drop of Honey. Carnegie draws inspiration from an old proverb, "A drop of honey catches more flies than a gallon of gall." The chapter's core message is that kindness and friendliness are far more effective in persuading others than criticism, anger, or hostility. People respond better to positive and respectful approaches because these methods reduce defensiveness and create a cooperative environment. Carnegie recounts examples of leaders who diffuse tense situations by addressing others with warmth and understanding. He suggests beginning any interaction, especially one involving disagreement, with a friendly tone and genuine appreciation for the other person's perspective. This drop of honey fosters goodwill and opens the door for productive dialogue. Key lesson: approach others with kindness and a positive attitude. A friendly demeanor builds trust and encourages cooperation. Chapter 14. The Secret of Socrates. This chapter focuses on the power of eliciting agreement through a series of affirmative responses. Inspired by the Socratic method, Carnegie explains that starting with points of agreement, even on minor issues, sets the tone for collaboration and reduces resistance. By getting others to say yes early in a conversation, you create momentum toward consensus. Carnegie contrasts this method with the pitfalls of starting a conversation with disagreement. He explains that when people are forced into a defensive stance, they are less likely to reconsider their views. Instead, gently guiding them toward common ground fosters a sense of partnership and makes them more open to your ideas. He illustrates this principle with real-life examples of negotiators and salespeople who successfully influenced others by framing discussions around mutual understanding and shared goals. Key lesson: begin with points of agreement to create a collaborative atmosphere. The more yes responses you elicit, the more likely others are to align with your perspective. Chapter 15. The Safety Valve in Handling Complaints. Carnegie addresses the delicate art of handling complaints. The primary principle here is to let people express their frustrations fully before responding. Allowing someone to vent their concerns serves as an emotional safety valve, releasing tension and preventing escalation. He emphasizes the importance of listening attentively and acknowledging the validity of the other person's feelings, even if you disagree with their viewpoint. By giving them space to air their grievances, you demonstrate respect and empathy, which can de-escalate anger and open the door to a constructive resolution. Carnegie warns against interrupting or dismissing complaints prematurely, as doing so can exacerbate the issue. Instead, he advises patience and a calm demeanor, encouraging the complainant to fully articulate their concerns before offering a thoughtful response. Key lesson: allow others to vent their complaints without interruption. Active listening and empathy can diffuse tension and pave the way for resolution. Chapter 16. How to get cooperation. Carnegie highlights the importance of making others feel involved in decision-making processes to gain their cooperation. Instead of imposing your ideas or issuing commands, invite others to contribute their thoughts and participate in finding solutions. This approach not only increases buy-in but also fosters goodwill and a sense of ownership. He shares examples of managers and leaders who successfully turn potentially contentious situations into collaborative ones by asking questions such as, "What do you think we should do?" or "How would you handle this problem?" By appealing to the other person's sense of importance and expertise, they encouraged cooperation and avoided resistance. Carnegie also suggests using inclusive language, like "we're" instead of "you" or "I," to emphasize teamwork. This subtle shift in phrasing makes people feel like they are part of a shared effort rather than being directed or criticized. Key lesson: involve others in the process and appeal to their desire for collaboration. People are more likely to cooperate when they feel their input is valued. Chapter 17. A formula that will work wonders for you. This chapter introduces a powerful formula for resolving differences. Try to see things from the other person's perspective. Carnegie explains that understanding someone else's point of view, even if you disagree, demonstrates empathy and respect. It also provides valuable insights into their motivations and concerns, which can help you frame your ideas in a way that resonates with them. Carnegie recounts examples of negotiators and mediators who succeeded by stepping into the shoes of others, identifying their underlying needs, and addressing them directly. He emphasizes that this approach is not about manipulation but about building genuine understanding. To practice this principle, Carnegie suggests actively listening, asking clarifying questions, and acknowledging the validity of the other person's perspective before presenting your own. Key lesson: seek to understand others' viewpoints. Empathy fosters connection and paves the way for constructive dialogue. Chapter 18. What everybody wants. Carnegie explains that one of the most universal human desires is to feel understood and appreciated. Acknowledging this need can transform interactions and build trust. People want their efforts, concerns, and emotions to be recognized, and when you fulfill this desire, you create goodwill and rapport. He encourages readers to focus on phrases like, "I can see how you feel," or "that makes sense," considering what you're experiencing. These expressions of understanding can dissolve tension and open the door to cooperation. Carnegie illustrates this concept with stories of successful leaders who diffused conflicts and motivated others simply by expressing empathy and appreciation. He warns against dismissing or trivializing others' feelings, as doing so erodes trust and creates distance. Key lesson: recognize and validate others' emotions and efforts. Demonstrating understanding and appreciation builds trust and strengthens relationships. Chapter 19. An appeal that everybody likes. Carnegie explains that appealing to people's nobler motives can inspire cooperation and goodwill. Most individuals like to think of themselves as fair, honest, and altruistic. By aligning your requests with these ideals, you can tap into their desire to act in ways that align with their self-image. He provides examples of successful appeals to noble motives, such as framing a business decision as a way to help the community or encouraging someone to act generously by highlighting their capacity for kindness. The key is to identify the values the other person holds dear and align your message with those values. Carnegie cautions against insincerity, emphasizing that appeals to noble motives must be genuine. Manipulative or superficial attempts can backfire and damage trust. Key lesson: appeal to others' higher ideals and values. By showing respect for their noble intentions, you can inspire cooperation and positive action. Chapter 20. The movies do it. TV does it. Why don't you do it? This chapter highlights the persuasive power of dramatization. Carnegie explains that presenting ideas in a vivid, engaging, and memorable way captures attention and leaves a lasting impression. People are naturally drawn to stories, visuals, and dramatic elements, which can make your message more compelling. Carnegie uses examples from advertising, movies, and television to illustrate how dramatization works. For instance, commercials often create emotional or striking scenarios to highlight the benefits of a product. Similarly, you can enhance your communication by using anecdotes, demonstrations, or visual aids to make your point more impactful. The chapter encourages creativity and encourages readers to think beyond plain facts or logical arguments. A well-told story or striking example can persuade in ways that raw data cannot. Key lesson: use dramatization and storytelling to make your ideas more engaging and memorable. Creativity can significantly enhance the impact of your message. Chapter 21. When nothing else works, try this. Carnegie concludes this section with a powerful principle: throw down a challenge. People are naturally motivated by challenges that appeal to their sense of achievement, pride, or competitiveness. When other methods fail, framing your request or idea as a challenge can inspire action and enthusiasm. He shares examples of leaders who motivated their teams by setting ambitious goals or creating friendly competition. For instance, managers who framed tasks as opportunities to break records or achieve something extraordinary often saw increased productivity and morale. Carnegie advises tailoring the challenge to the individual or group, ensuring it feels achievable and meaningful. A challenge that resonates with someone's personal or professional ambitions can ignite their passion and drive. Key lesson: when other methods fail, present your idea as a challenge. This taps into people's innate desire for achievement and motivates them to take action. Chapter 22. If you must find fault, this is the way to begin. Carnegie begins this chapter by emphasizing the importance of starting any criticism with sincere praise. He explains that people are more receptive to feedback when it is framed within a positive context. By acknowledging someone's strengths and accomplishments first, you create an atmosphere of goodwill and soften the impact of the critique. He supports this principle with examples of leaders and mentors who began conversations by highlighting what someone had done well before addressing areas for improvement. This approach not only cushions the blow of criticism but also reinforces the recipient's self-esteem, making them more open to constructive suggestions. Carnegie also stresses the importance of sincerity. Flattery or insincere praise can come across as manipulative and undermine trust. Key lesson: begin criticism with genuine praise. This approach disarms defensiveness and fosters a positive environment for feedback. Chapter 23. How to criticize and not be hated for it. This chapter expands on the idea of delivering criticism tactfully. Carnegie suggests that instead of directly pointing out faults, you frame your critique in a way that encourages the other person to save face. One effective technique is to use indirect language or questions that guide the individual to recognize their mistakes on their own. For example, rather than saying, "You made a mistake," you might say, "I wonder if there's another way we could approach this." This subtle shift in tone transforms criticism into a collaborative problem-solving effort. Carnegie provides anecdotes of supervisors who successfully used this method to address performance issues without damaging relationships. He emphasizes that the goal is not to humiliate but to inspire improvement while maintaining respect. Key lesson: deliver criticism indirectly and tactfully. By preserving the other person's dignity, you maintain goodwill and increase the likelihood of positive change. Chapter 24. Talk about your own mistakes first. In this chapter, Carnegie advises that when pointing out someone else's mistakes, it is helpful to first acknowledge your own. By admitting your past errors or shortcomings, you demonstrate humility and create a sense of camaraderie. This approach disarms defensiveness and makes the recipient more open to feedback. Carnegie explains that when you preface criticism with a personal admission, it shifts the dynamic from judgment to mutual understanding. For instance, saying, "I've made similar mistakes myself," shows empathy and builds trust, making it easier for the other person to accept your suggestions. He illustrates this principle with stories of leaders who inspired their teams by admitting their own flaws before addressing others. This strategy not only humanizes you but also encourages a culture of openness and self-improvement. Key lesson: acknowledge your own mistakes before addressing someone else's. This creates a collaborative atmosphere and fosters mutual respect. Chapter 25. No one likes to take orders. Carnegie explains that giving direct orders often leads to resentment and resistance. People naturally dislike being told what to do because it can make them feel subordinated or controlled. Instead of issuing commands, Carnegie suggests framing requests in a way that allows the other person to feel as though they are making the decision themselves. He recommends asking questions or providing suggestions rather than orders. For instance, instead of saying, "Do this," you could say, "Would you be willing to help me with this?" or "How do you think we should approach this?" By inviting input or collaboration, you empower the other person to take ownership of the task, which often leads to greater enthusiasm and commitment. Carnegie emphasizes that this approach is particularly effective in motivating others and avoiding conflict, as it preserves their sense of autonomy and dignity. Key lesson: avoid giving direct orders. Instead, make suggestions or ask questions that allow the other person to feel they are making the decision. Chapter 26. Let the other person save face. Carnegie stresses the importance of helping others maintain their dignity, especially when they make mistakes. Humiliating or embarrassing someone, even inadvertently, can damage relationships and undermine trust. Therefore, if a person has made an error or is in a vulnerable position, it is crucial to handle the situation with care and tact. Carnegie advocates for offering gentle correction and acknowledging that everyone makes mistakes. For example, instead of directly criticizing a person's actions, you could say, "I understand how that could happen," or "We all get caught in this sometimes." This approach minimizes embarrassment and helps the individual save face, encouraging them to learn from the mistake without feeling ashamed or demoralized. The chapter underscores the idea that maintaining a person's pride is essential for fostering long-term cooperation and trust. Key lesson: when someone makes a mistake, help them save face. Acknowledge their human fallibility without causing embarrassment, and they will be more open to learning and improving. Chapter 27. How to spur people on to success. In this chapter, Carnegie focuses on the power of positive reinforcement and encouragement in motivating others to achieve success. He believes that people thrive when they are acknowledged for their efforts, and that praise, especially when specific and sincere, is a powerful motivator. Carnegie advises leaders to highlight the progress people are making, even if it's small. Rather than focusing on mistakes or shortcomings, emphasize what the person has done well and express genuine appreciation for their contributions. This creates a sense of accomplishment and boosts morale, making them more likely to continue striving for success. He shares numerous examples of leaders who achieved remarkable results simply by consistently encouraging their teams and offering praise. The idea is to recognize and celebrate victories to keep individuals motivated and focused on continuous improvement. Carnegie also highlights the importance of being specific when giving praise. Rather than offering vague compliments like "good job," it is more effective to acknowledge exactly what was done well, such as "You did an excellent job presenting that report. Your clarity and thoroughness really stood out." Key lesson: encourage and praise others for their efforts. Recognizing small successes motivates people to continue working toward larger goals. Chapter 28. Give a dog a good name. Carnegie starts this chapter by emphasizing the power of perception. People are strongly influenced by the way others view them, and labeling someone with positive qualities can often encourage them to live up to those expectations. This principle is encapsulated in the saying, "Give a dog a good name." When you praise someone for their strengths or abilities, you set the stage for them to demonstrate those very qualities. It's important to focus on their positive traits and potential rather than pointing out their flaws. He illustrates this by sharing stories of supervisors and managers who motivated employees by expressing confidence in their abilities and potential. For example, when a manager expresses belief in an employee's skills and encourages them to take on a challenging task, the employee often rises to the occasion, proving themselves worthy of the trust. Carnegie argues that by focusing on people's good qualities and giving them a positive label, you inspire them to maintain that image and behave accordingly. This creates an atmosphere of growth and positivity. Key lesson: label others with positive qualities and express confidence in their abilities. This fosters an environment where they strive to meet the expectations you set for them. Chapter 29. Make the fault seem easy to correct. In this chapter, Carnegie discusses how to address mistakes or shortcomings in a way that encourages improvement. When pointing out a fault, it is essential to make the solution seem achievable and not overwhelming. If a person believes that correcting a mistake is too difficult or complex, they are more likely to become discouraged and resistant to change. Therefore, your role as a leader or coach is to help others see that the issue can be easily corrected with a little effort or focus. Carnegie suggests framing problems in a way that makes the solution seem simple and manageable. For example, instead of saying, "This is a huge problem, and I don't know how we'll fix it," you could say, "This is a small thing we can easily address with a little change in approach." This reframing reduces anxiety and motivates others to take action. He highlights that by focusing on small, manageable steps, you help individuals feel more confident and empowered to address the issue. This approach not only promotes solutions but also fosters a positive, proactive mindset in others. Key lesson: when addressing mistakes, make the solution seem simple and achievable. This encourages confidence and action rather than discouraging the person with overwhelming problems. Chapter 30. Making people glad to do what you want. Carnegie concludes these chapters by explaining how to make people enthusiastic about fulfilling your requests. The key is to make the person feel that fulfilling your request will benefit them or align with their own desires. People are more likely to take action when they feel motivated by personal gain, whether it's recognition, a sense of accomplishment, or alignment with their own values. Carnegie suggests that instead of demanding compliance, you should appeal to people's interests and frame your request in a way that highlights how it aligns with their personal goals or benefits. For example, rather than simply telling someone to do a task, you can explain how doing it will contribute to their success or recognition. By appealing to their self-interest in a way that is positive and respectful, you make them eager to participate. Additionally, Carnegie advises expressing appreciation and enthusiasm when making requests. People are more likely to respond positively when they feel appreciated and valued. Key lesson: make your requests appealing by aligning them with the other person's interests or goals. Show enthusiasm and appreciation to encourage cooperation and motivation. Conclusion to How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People has endured for decades because it addresses a fundamental aspect of human life: relationships. Whether in business, personal life, or social settings, the ability to connect with and influence others is essential for success. Carnegie's timeless wisdom offers powerful, actionable principles that are simple yet incredibly effective in helping people become better communicators, leaders, and friends. At the heart of the book are Carnegie's belief in the importance of empathy, sincerity, and respect in all human interactions. These principles guide the book's structure, offering readers a clear roadmap to build rapport and establish trust with others. His first major lesson, the power of listening, sets the foundation for all subsequent advice. People crave attention and appreciation, and Carnegie demonstrates that truly listening to others, showing genuine interest in them, and allowing them to express themselves freely is a surefire way to win their favor. In an era where superficial interactions are common, taking the time to actively listen can distinguish you from the crowd and create lasting bonds. Another major takeaway from Carnegie's teachings is the importance of praise and positive reinforcement. Acknowledging the strengths and contributions of others, especially in the workplace, leads to greater cooperation, increased self-esteem, and an environment where people are motivated to do their best. Rather than criticizing people's faults, Carnegie suggests focusing on their positive traits and encouraging them. The simple act of highlighting a person's strengths can help them grow into the person you know they can be, while simultaneously deepening your relationship with them. Carnegie also stresses that people are naturally inclined to resist criticism and conflict. In this regard, one of the most practical and valuable insights he offers is how to criticize without creating resentment. The book suggests beginning with sincere praise, then addressing mistakes in a way that doesn't diminish the other person's dignity. By making others feel respected even in moments of failure, you help them feel more open to feedback and willing to correct their mistakes. Carnegie's advice encourages leaders to be tactful and empathetic, ensuring that criticism doesn't devolve into a personal attack but rather serves as an opportunity for growth. The book also emphasizes the need for genuine appreciation. People want to feel valued, and Carnegie explains that expressing sincere gratitude for someone's actions or qualities can have a profound impact. This applies not only to professional relationships but also in personal life. Whether you're congratulating a colleague for a job well done or thanking a friend for their support, a heartfelt thank you can go a long way in building strong, enduring relationships. Furthermore, Carnegie teaches the art of inspiring others to take action. Instead of trying to impose your will on others, he encourages readers to find ways to align their desires with the goals of the people they're interacting with. By understanding others' interests and making them feel that your request is in their best interest, you can motivate them to act voluntarily and enthusiastically. This approach relies on the simple yet powerful notion that people are more likely to do what you want when they believe it will benefit them. One of the book's most intriguing ideas is the concept of leading by example. Carnegie points out that the most effective leaders are those who embody the qualities they seek in others. By admitting your own mistakes, showing humility, and taking responsibility for your actions, you set an example that encourages others to follow suit. It's this approach, leading through compassion, self-awareness, and humility, that helps build strong teams, effective leadership, and mutual respect. Lastly, How to Win Friends and Influence People underscores the profound truth that people are motivated by their emotions. Carnegie's advice is not about manipulating others, but about tapping into their intrinsic desires for respect, appreciation, and belonging. Whether it's making someone feel important, encouraging them to contribute their ideas, or simply taking the time to acknowledge their worth, Carnegie's teachings show that the key to success in life is rooted in how we treat others. In conclusion, Carnegie's book remains as relevant today as it was when it was first published. It provides a comprehensive guide to building meaningful relationships, whether you're trying to influence someone, gain their trust, or simply connect on a deeper level. At its core, the book is a manual for creating positive, lasting connections with others by applying the principles of empathy, respect, encouragement, and leadership. By following Carnegie's advice, anyone can become more persuasive, likable, and influential, whether in their career, their friendships, or their personal life. His lessons serve as a powerful reminder that success isn't just about what you know, but how you relate to and treat others. If you enjoyed the summary, then like the video and subscribe to Audiobooks Vault. Tell us if there is any other book you want us to summarize. Goodbye.